Hey everyone, Griever here, bringing you guys another video this week. But before we even get underway with that, let's just talk about one thing. This is not a list of worst to best, nor is it a list of best to worst manga chapters. It is not a top 10 list, it is not a top 5 list. Though, to be fair, there was actually 5 entries in this video, so that's cute. Anyways, this, as you can no doubt tell from the title, is about manga chapters. More specifically, the worst manga chapters that I have ever read, for a multitude of reasons, across all the different series that I have read, which numbers well over 100, all the way from one-shots to the big names like One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, and etc. Now, it goes without saying, spoiler warnings ahead. And I know there will be a lot of people who are going to say that I didn't pick the right series, that there are far worse manga series out there, that there are worse chapters from the series that I did pick, such as dreaded ending chapters of many a shonen series. But since a video about how bad the Nakama power-up endings are, or more specifically, Deus Ex Silver Arrowheads, that video has been done to death by many a YouTuber. So we are going to avoid all manga ending chapters, that being the last 10 chapters of any of the ended series on this list. So keep that in mind. We're adding a little bit of originality to this video. So before everyone starts typing away in the comment section below about how bad Bleach's ending was rushed, or how Nakama Power Awful Fairy Tail's ending was, we are going to avoid beating that already dead horse. Animal cruelty, guys. Not cool. Now, first up is a series that I have been reviewing personally on this channel. In fact, I've gone through 2 separate YouTube channels reviewing the series on a week-to-week basis. And that, of course, is 7 Deadly Sins. This is a great series, and it does a lot of things great. But we're always going to have missteps along the way. Case in point being the dreaded chapter 300, which took the series and went nosedive downhill faster than my credit score. But since I already have my review and thoughts up about chapter 300 and all subsequent chapters currently, plus we're not quite sure how many chapters are left in the series, so for right now we're going to throw chapter 300 under that 10 chapter close to the ending rule I set at the beginning of the video. So I had to search through Taizai and look for another chapter that hit me just as hard in the balls. And I could think of one. The ending of chapter 125. And some of you who remember what that chapter was about are probably looking at me like I got 3 damn heads. You're thinking, well, what was wrong with that chapter? We had the crushing defeat by the new antagonist. A great setup for not only the 10 Commandments, but Gallon of Truth. We got a crushing defeat, our main cast is down, the new arc is starting, strategizing being formulated, and Escanor's wanted poster. They are going to actively start searching for one of my favorite sins, one of my favorite characters in the series, and let me tell you something. Regardless what happens later, he did not disappoint in this arc. Nobody will tell me otherwise. So why? Why does chapter 125 ruffle my feathers more than a flock of pissed off Canadian geese? And seriously, those kids are vicious. It is because of the last panel featuring Deanne. Good old Deanne. A fan favorite for some reason. A character with the love trope of memory loss. Something that was wrapped up and restored at the end of the last arc. But since we all love amnesia in our characters oh so much, Nakaba gives us even more. What a great guy. And not even to a different character. Oh no. He decides Deanne can't have any more character development without forgetting half her damn life all the time. And we get stuck with the "Who are you?" at the end of chapter 125, after King returns and their romance could have begun. Now I know some of you might say, what about chapter 126? The rest of chapter 125 was fine. But hear me out. The will they, won't they plot device is used to death in media, and while done correctly sometimes, it easily gets stale very fast, especially for staple characters of a series. Usually to keep the spark going, writers will add in another love interest to make a triangle for an arc or a season or even a long-running stint. Sometimes a character death or new problem instead, or even the characters not being sure about their feelings for each other. But here we get none of this. There is no new problem. There is no new third wheel introduced for fans to start shipping instead of the current couple of King and Deanne. We get the exact same issue since the last arc, without even the attention of the will they won't they aspect. At the end of that arc, we know King is in love with Deanne and proceeds, after a talk with Bond, is going to go confess to her. And we know that Deanne had the conversation with Elizabeth and is going to also confess to King when she runs into him again, getting her memories back. Deanne is used for mere plot device, both to establish the giant race, which... what did they do again? Oh yeah, they were introduced in this arc by Deanne by getting memory loss just so she had an excuse to go back there, and they did so much in the last arc, didn't they? Yeah, they did. And the other point of doing this whole memory loss switcheroo for a second time was for Gother's heart-finding subplot, which, to be fair, was a good subplot. But they already had established this aspect of it with the Gother getting rid of Gila's memories and playing that whole mind game. They simply replaced Gila with Deanne for a second time. It doesn't work. Amnesia has to be one of my most hated tropes in not only manga and anime, but all entertainment media. It's not character developing. All it is a lie. It's a time delay on true character development. The character has already been developed and they just don't want to run out of ideas. So they put a time bomb on them for a season, for an arc, just to delay them being a fully fleshed out character with no subplot in the next season. That's all Amnesia ever does. Hell, even Oda is not exempt from this trope. The difference is, at least he waited over 900 chapters to do his second bout of Amnesia. What's the excuse here? Taizai was barely into its first set of triple digits when they did it to the same bloody character. I mean, this one panel filled me with so much disappointment and dread. To prepare for the next chapter, I watched SAO again. You know, the whole increase your pain tolerance thing. It didn't work. Right, so next up is one of my favorite manga series of all time. Although it gets a lot of hate, I'm on YouTube, and I've been on the interwebs. So asking for no hate on this platform is the same as trying to find a unicorn at the end of a rainbow that sounds like Morgan Freeman. Of course, that unicorn I'm talking about is none other than Bleach. Bleach is one of those series which gets a lot of hate, and I can understand why. It had plenty of ups and downs, from faults to hype moments, back and forth, and it was kind of hard to nail down which moments were actually good, written well, and which ones just made no sense. But this moment is a flaw. It is a black spot on the series as a whole for me. Someone who was reading it week to week when it was being released. And honestly, when I went back through for research for this video, I found quite a few moments that left a bitter taste in my mouth. These moments including Unohana's Bankai, which got very little explanation, and also then her subsequent death. Then we got the reveal of Cyborg Kira, who... what did he do again? And who could forget the famously rushed ending, which is what garners Bleach so much hate. But there is a chapter from the nearly laughable Fullbringer arc. Yes, the Fullbringer arc. And I claimed I wouldn't beat a dead horse, but I'm not here to talk about the arc. I'm not here to defend it, though I do think it gets a worse rap than it kind of deserves, and there has been an influx in videos on YouTube explaining as to why the Fullbringer arc is not nearly as bad as everyone seems to remember. But I'm just talking about one chapter, and more specifically, one moment in an otherwise good chapter, because this was coming to the close of the Fullbringer arc, and though you may love or hate the final arc of Bleach, I enjoyed the premise, and especially the startup and buildup of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. This chapter, 459, has a moment, and I know for everyone who knows what number chapter that is, yes, alright, let's get it out of our system. Ichigo is crying. He's such a wimpy little bitch. Meh, 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 meh. Okay. You get that out of your system? I mean, I'll laugh along with you like the kids do. Lol. But I'm not here to argue about that. Though I will admit that the poor bastard did lose all his power twice in the span of 30 chapters, plus all his friends are now against him and under mind control. Yeah. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that. But we are here to talk about that moment. But not about him crying. Not about him breaking down. We're here to talk about the dialogue. The words he say. The line that made this moment ruin the fact that he gets his actual Shinigami powers back at the end of this chapter, which should have made this chapter one of the best because we are finally done with this shit show. No, the line is, "Dad, Urahara-san, you too? That's how it is?" Ichigo, buddy, you are one of my favorite main protagonists in all of shonen. A character who is not a happy-go-lucky fighter with the intelligence of a chewed-up pencil is a nice change from the usual shonen. However, I know you're not supposed to handle every situation perfectly because that wouldn't make for a good story. But you didn't handle any of this well. Remember chapter 428? Well, let me refresh it for you. Some wannabe Squall cosplayer shows up and asks you about your dad and tells you to check out Urahara Kisuke's shop if you don't believe his words. Now, instead of going to said dad, you know the one that's been with you since the beginning of the series, the one who helped you in the final battle against Sosuke Aizen, main villain of the majority of the series to this point, the one who taught you the technique, the final Getsuga Tensho, the ability that allowed you to actually fight Aizen on equal footing and save the day. Yeah, instead of going to that dad and saying, hey, this creepy dude from Final Fantasy VIII is here, maybe a captain level Shinigami could look into it, or hell, you could go to the Urahara shop and just ask Mr. Hattenclogs, why is my sister here and what's going on? Also keeping in mind that this is the guy who continues to help Ichigo reach places and support him since the beginning of the series, though sometimes for his own devices, everything has worked out to save the day. But nope! Let us question our entire group of family and friends for a greasy biker without the motorcycle and trust them completely and unconditionally. Here at this moment, in chapter 459, that shit gets turned up to a volume of ear-shattering levels. They are right in front of you. Two of the people who have literally had your back more than almost anybody else in this entire series, and you assume that they are in on it? What have these Fullbringers, these humans with powers like Chad, done to make you assume that they could get a one-up on someone like Urahara, or Yoruichi, or your father? Right? Use your damn head, Ichigo. Mr. I'm 18th out of a class of 322. Look it up. This pushed my tolerance level, and remembering that this is one of my favorite series, to fairy tale levels of failure. This one moment. And the worst part about it is that since Ginjo's introduction, I had been waiting for Yoruichi, for Kisuke, for Ishin to show up, or for Ichigo to go to them and say, hey, you know, last time I got involved with a group of guys, I know that kind of worked out and I got control of my hollow a little bit, but maybe I shouldn't trust every supernatural group with powers that clearly don't have any other ulterior motive. Now, I don't really have my powers right now, but could one of you guys, do me a solid and check these guys out, see if they're the real deal? And I mean, then, if you guys say they're cool, then maybe I could join them. And it was painful reading week after week and just thinking, go see Yoruichi, go see your father, go see Kisuke, go see any of these people that have had your back this entire series, that have supported you. And instead of doing all this full-bring training shit, which of course amounted to nothing, he gets his Super Sentai powers, loses them, and then he gets his Shinigami powers back at the end of this chapter anyways. So this arc did nothing. It did so little. It was just the in-between for the build-up between this and from the end of the Aizen fuckery to the beginning of the Thousand Year Blood War arc. They show up, and that's his reaction. They believe that worst chapter of Bleach for no other reason than it was 30 chapters of waiting to get to this. Fucking Fullbring. Since we are already dragging down the big three's rep, let's talk about the one that got the anime fans grouped together in high schools and junior highs alike with the headband wearing, multi-hair dyeing, parent disappointing emo children. And that is Naruto. Now, I will keep this brief. As most of you know who watch my videos, Naruto is a manga series that I truly hate. From its terrible main characters, to its awful main characters, to its cringe-worthy main characters. I read this series all the way through its 700 total chapters. Not to hate on it, but to try to give it an honest go, and see past any initial dislike for any quips with the characters or art style that I might have had. Which had about the same success rate as I do of becoming the Queen of England, yet unlike Naruto, I still think I got a pretty good shot at it. I mean, look, I can do this. Yet, for all my distaste of the series amounting to a mouthful of sand, there is a chapter, or chapters, that would cause even a struggle for the most die-hard of fans of a kid who runs around in deer hunting gear. And that is chapter 469 and 470. Now, I can already feel the anger from the ninja fanboys in the comments section below, causing sweat upon the brow of this 7.5 face of mine. And before you even start, I've already heard it. Oh, you hate this series so much. That's why you're putting 2 chapters of my favorite series. Naruto is the greatest series ever written. Bleach sucks so much more. How can you like Bleach more? All right. Get it out of your system. Get it out of your system. Got 2 things to say. First, put away your 2-inch shuriken. I don't need to see that. And second, it is because I'm going to leave it to you, the viewers and the fans, decide which chapter is worse. You are going to pick between these 2. And I'm simply going to bring up both moments in both chapters because it revolves around the same conversation. And I honestly couldn't decide which part was worse. And that involves Sakura's confession. Her love confession, not to Sasuke, but to Naruto. This deceitful and foolish attempt to trick Naruto in forgetting about Sasuke and forgetting about the promise that he made to bring him back. How did anybody think this would work? How did anybody think this was a good idea? Point proven by the fact that Naruto, the guy who couldn't understand the concept of shadow clones maintaining information, so he should use his vast amount of shadow clones to go into a library and read up on a bunch of different jutsu maybe, or learn about the history or gain knowledge or something. The one that couldn't remember that, right? Even Mr. Deer Hunter Clothing himself saw through this bullshit right away. Don't get me wrong. The meeting beforehand in the tent about trying to convince Naruto to back down, and Shikamaru bringing up very good points. I do like Shikamaru as a character, stating, look, we're not kids anymore. Everyone's made their choice. We need to act more as adults now. We're ninja. We are part of the Leaf Village. This is what we got to do, right? We can't just be foolhardy and follow our hearts all the time. We have to make tough decisions. I'm like, this is good. This is great. But then Sakura, she takes this opportunity to literally drown herself deeper than the Marianas Trench. Like, where is her tact? She shows up with a dozen people around watching and drops the I love you bomb out in the open. The sand talk between Padme and Anakin on repeat is less painful than this. And the worst part comes from the rest of the chapter and following into chapter 470. And this is where I'm not sure if I hate the fact that she actually thought this would work in this manner. But the fact is, she's not even successful in convincing Naruto at all. She drops a love bomb, he doesn't believe it, she argues with him, and then instead of going anywhere else, she says, hey guys, I couldn't convince Naruto, let's just go after Sasuke on our own, we won't need Kakashi and Naruto's help. What was the point of these 2 chapters? It just delayed everything. All it did was make Naruto, Kakashi, and everyone suspicious of their next actions. The fact that Sakura would come up with this blatant bullshit lie right in front of everyone is just going to lead them to suspicion. Why go out and lie? You're already in the tent. You already made your decision with this other group of side characters. Why go to Naruto in the first place? Why not just leave and go after Sasuke if that's what you intended? What did you think this was going to accomplish? Were you not going to go after Sasuke if Naruto had said, oh, I love you too, please stay with me, let's go run and get married or something? Like, what did any of this, what would have been the outcome? Nothing would have changed as far as I can see. There was no need for this terribly awful attempt at deception. and it was just a damn waste of pages. Sakura is here making the prequel trilogy romance from Star Wars look like bloody Casablanca at this point. Now next up on my chopping board of blood and bullshit is a series that has been smelling like rotten fish covered in burnt bacon and butter, and with all these references to the kitchen, what else could I be talking about but Shokugeki no Soma, chapter 301, also known as Character Butchery. Now, this is twice two of the series that I review. What is with the chapter 300 making the turn to the worst for two of my series? Two of the series that I love, two of the series that I review on this channel. I love this series. I love the characters, the recipes I get from it, the art style, and more. It feels like the first snowfall of a fresh winter. Each week you get to read it. Latest arc, however, has been more like the February of a winter in Canada. Christmas is long over. Everything is cold. Suicide rate is up at its highest point all year, every year, and your back is aching from shoveling out 2 damn driveways every 3 fucking days because buy a quart a lot, they said. 2 driveways will be convenient, they said. Now for all the fried food fuckery that has gone on in this arc, chapter 301 is why I nearly dropped this series from both reviewing and reading it. I get into great detail in my chapter 301 review, so go check that out if you want more in-depth stuff, and subsequent reviews also contain a lot of ranting. So I'm going to try to keep it brief here, because I don't think my blood pressure should be this high. I can sum up this issue with 4 words. Arena throws away food. Now there has been a lot of problems in this arc. I have called it the Fullbring arc from Bleach a number of times in my reviews. But this one act, this one horrific act of 300 chapters strong into character development was tossed into the trash bin along with her food and my love for her character. Now, she was an Ice Queen at the beginning of the series. And this return to form is not an Ice Queen that simply needs the warmth of friendship trope to get over. No, this is more Darth Arena, the Ice Queen of the Sith Chefs. The entire last arc and the setup previously for it revolved around Arena's god tongue and her father's abusive methods in educating her taste buds. These childhood events were toxic. They poisoned her love for food to the point of fear whenever confronted by her father. She was forced to judge dish after dish and throw them away, wasting food essentially. If she found any fault, any dish her father did not approve of, it was to suit her father's ideals. Now throughout the series, and more specifically the previous arc, with help from her new friends, she grows into her own person, standing up for herself, gaining enough confidence to stand up to her father and his ideals, rounding out her character development nicely into this strong person, not an Ice Queen any longer, but someone who learned how to trust, who learned how to believe in other people and rely on friends, make friends and rely on them. It was a well-rounded character development. Hell, she is definitely considered the second main character, right alongside the title character of Soma. She replaces this icy persona with a warm inner strength instead, and it doesn't make her weaker, it simply makes her stronger. But all of this is completely forgotten and abandoned when she gets kidnapped by the latest antagonist within this arc. And there are some problems. A, she agrees to a Shokugeki deal with her kidnappers, which would effectively make any of her current worry in the current chapters moot if she simply did not agree. B, she did not tell the cops, or her friends, or nearly anybody about said kidnapping, losing a lot of the development from the whole learning to lean and rely on others trope, because the moment another new situation came up with a problem, she forego all her character development. She completely forgot about her friends and her family and people there to support her, so she learned nothing in 300 chapters, and literally, she keeps to herself. And finally, here in chapter 301, it all comes to a head. This was building for a while. But in chapter 301, we add insult to injury. And here's where we get a nice stab in the heart. She obliterates her friend, her colleague, in a Shokugeki. And wins outright only to be dissatisfied with the level of cooking she has produced to win. And she takes her dish and tosses it the fuck out. The very thing that traumatized her in her past and the previous arc, the thing that they fought against, not just herself, but the Regiment de Cuisine and against Central and her father and all this stuff, fighting against his ideals. It not only helped her overcome her traumatic past and all the toxicity that her father poisoned her mind with, but she came to learn to stand up for herself, fight against this, and she literally, by picking out that dish, she just tosses it in the fucking trash with ease, all to impress her mother. What did she learn from her battle with her father? Maybe your family, maybe your parents aren't really the greatest people in the world, Arena. How about that? I mean, and then adding insult to this injury, we're still bleeding out by the next chapter. Because in 302, what happens? She gives up on this. She throws away her ideals. And after one quick conversation with the main villain, she turns into depressed mode. I mean, mood swings much? Did we not just go through a drama-filled arc with your father? Now you want the approval of your equally batshit crazy mother. Why? What is the point? Go check out my reviews if you want to hear more ranting about this. I need to move on to the last of the worst chapters video before I start throwing away all my volumes of Food Wars, which I number 28 currently. And I really don't want to throw them away. They cost a lot of money. We have arrived, ladies and dickheads alike, for the worst chapter of One Piece. No, that doesn't sound right. Beelzebub. No, something. Toriko. That doesn't sound right either. I swear I'm forgetting a series here, guys. It gets a lot of hate. It had dragons and wizards and... Oh, Harry Potter! Right. So this wonderful wizarding what have you it world of chapter 403 and... Wait, that's not right either. No. Guys. I don't know if you know this, but I've already established a few rules for my videos in my YouTube channel. And they only number 3. It's very easy. A, we never talk about the saddest thing on the internet. B, we all agree that Garp would have killed Akainu at Marineford. And C, Rave Master is Mashima's only series. Ever. What part of this does the community not understand? Right, so Fairy Tail. Yes, of course it had to be Fairy Tail on the tail end of the video. Huh? You guys get it? Because it's last entry? Lols for days. Now, this series is ridiculed with more holes than a porn star orgy. But it took time to sift through all the Nakama this and the Dragon Slayer Sting that. But in the end, I found an offense that came worse than all of these. I knew what the series was being like by this point. I had no delusions that it was not absolute trash. But I wasn't lying to myself. I enjoyed. I stuck through it. I knew its faults and didn't care. I was still enjoying the ride, if only good for a laugh and to read the comment section. But chapter 403, this sickening, savagely shit storm of a fight, tops it all. No point in this series, and remember kids, we are not counting endings here, but no point has more fairy fuckery than this fight, having Miss Mustwin have all her senses stolen, and pain receptors turned up to a level that we can't fathom as humans. And instead of finally losing a fight, maybe even being motivated by the fact that this demon got one up on her, maybe she kills a couple of the cats or something in the room, kills a character, and she's motivated to have a revenge fight later. Nope. She finds the light. Right, because when you're blind, a flashlight really fucking helps, right? Not only does she continue to pummel this powerhouse of an antagonist demon with OP abilities, she fodderizes her with no senses. She doesn't gain her senses back by gaining this light she's talking about. She's still got no senses. Her pain receptors are still on maximum. And even the damn cats are dumbfounded by this. And in the following chapter, Happy gives the biggest fourth wall break middle finger to the viewer and says, it's because she's Urza. Like, the two cats are trying to explain away, like, oh, it's a warrior sense. It's a seventh sense. Something that allows her to not only be able to stand up and fight against pain and fight without her senses, but she's also like, she's pulling some Kenpachi crap here. And I'm like, what in the absolute hell happened to Mashima's brain? Like, how do you go from Rave Master, which, yes, was not a perfect series, but nobody can tell me that Rave Master was this. Is he, like, is there some misery movie going on in Japan? Like, can anyone confirm he's not, like, lying on a bed with a broken foot? Like, chained down, forced to ruin his career on a typewriter? Please, for the love of God, somebody, just go check on him. Please. Also, and if you do, get me an autograph. I still really like Rave Master. Whew, right, I am done. Now, I know this video had some long-winded entries, guys, and once again, just remember that this is all personal opinion based on the series that I have read and my own personal opinion on the chapters therein. Once again, though, I tried to also use as few manga panels as possible because even though the subject matter and the title of the video would have really benefited from using panels, I'm just afraid that that'll get me in hot water, as we all know on YouTube. So, but feel free to tell me your guys' worst manga chapter experiences down in the comment section down below. Also, remember to like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of this type of content. I might just do another worst of series. I'll probably do another one anyway, because honestly, doing the research for this, I had a lot of fun scripting it out and everything. So, but nonetheless, encouragement is grand as always. That being said, guys, this has been Griever with the worst manga chapters I have ever read. So until next time, guys, see ya.